I pulled a baby girl out of the squalor of a trailer park and gave her a life of luxury. 20 years later, she brings home an unemployed loser the same age as me. She didn't just want my money. She was waiting for me to die so she could lick the plate clean. I raised a wolf, and now she wants to eat me alive. Fine. If she wants to play dirty, I'll show her what a real nightmare looks like. I'm sending her straight back to the hell she came from. It was Christmas Eve. Most families were singing carols. But my daughter Lily called to say she had a surprise. Being the doting mother I am, I spent the entire day prepping a feast fit for royalty. Prime rib, lobster thermidor, the works. I went to the organic market at dawn just to make sure everything was perfect. Lily didn't show up until after 6 p.m. I rushed to the door beaming, ready to hug my baby girl. Instead, I froze. Mom, this is the surprise. This is my boyfriend Rick. Hey there, Evelyn, the man said, his eyes scanning my foyer like he was pricing the furniture. I felt physically ill. This guy wasn't just older than Lily. He had gray hair and wrinkles deep enough to plant corn in. He looked exactly my age. Lily never told me she was seeing anyone. I'm not a prude, but this guy? He didn't bring a gift, not a bottle of wine, not a fruitcake, nothing. Just his empty hands and nearly gave me a stroke. Mom, we're getting married. She said it casually, like she was ordering a pizza. I gripped my wine glass. Rick, is it? How old are you? And what do you do for a living? I tried to keep it civil. It's Christmas, after all. Lily cut in before he could speak. Mom, stop interrogating him. Rick is 22 years older than me. He's between opportunities. But Mom, I love him. Excuse me? My daughter found a boyfriend who could be her father. No job, no manners? He had been eyeing my antique vase since he walked in, looking like a raccoon spotting trash. I couldn't hold back. Lily, do you hear yourself? Love? Does love pay the bills? Money, money, money. That's all you care about, Evelyn. There are more important things in this world. Lily stood up, glaring at me with a hatred I'd never seen before. This wasn't my little girl. I raised her better than this. She used to be my best friend. Now she looked at me like I was the enemy. I took a deep breath. Okay, you want to get married. Rick, let's talk numbers. Do you have a house? A car? Savings? How do you plan to support my daughter? I stared him down. Rick shifted in his seat, looking like a kicked puppy, and tugged on Lily's sleeve. Babe, your mom is scary. Why is she asking so much? You said we didn't need to worry about money. What the hell? My blood pressure skyrocketed. I have millions. I don't need a dime from a son-in-law. But a man who tries to freeload before the wedding is a predator, plain and simple. Lily patted his hand and turned her rage on me. Mom, Rick comes from a tough background. We agreed. No engagement ring, no expensive wedding. But since you have plenty and we don't want to live in poverty, I expect you to chip within $100,000 as a wedding gift. I laughed. A cold, hard laugh. Rick, realizing Lily was fighting his battle, smirked. Evelyn, we're in love. You can't put a price tag on that. That $100,000 is for Lily's happiness. Just agree to it. Create a trust fund for a bum? Never. Absolutely not, I snapped. I will not let my daughter marry a deadbeat grifter. And don't call me Evelyn. We're practically the same age. You have no job, no savings, and you have the audacity to ask for a payout? Who do you think you are? Get out of my house. I didn't expect my sweet Lily to explode. Mom, you are so selfish. You're just jealous because you've been a lonely widow for years. You can't stand seeing me happy. Lily, that is enough. Rick, realizing the check wasn't being written, turned nasty. His face twisted. Lily, come find me when you deal with this witch. He grabbed his jacket and stormed out. Rick, wait. Lily screamed, then collapsed on the floor. Dinner was ruined. The lobster was cold and the prime rib was dry. Lily suddenly stood up, mascara running down her face. You did this on purpose. Just because Dad died and you're bitter, you want me to be miserable too? Her words were like knives. Lily, look at him. Really, look at him. Do you want to support a lazy old man for the rest of your life? My eyes teared up. I just wanted to protect her. But she wasn't hearing it. Evelyn, you're a control freak. Now I'm going to live for myself. She grabbed a framed photo of us from Disney World and smashed it on the floor. Glass shattered everywhere. Then she ran out the door into the snow. I sat in that big, empty house, listening to the silence. I looked at the broken frame and wept. I gave her everything. Private schools, cars, vacations. I thought we were close. Everything changed when she started her internship. Since then, she's been full of secrets. I sat there for hours, eating cold mashed potatoes, feeling like ash. BZZZT. My phone lit up. Bank notification. Transaction alert. Saks Fifth Avenue. Amount, $15,000. I looked at the text and a dark smile formed on my lips. Lily, I thought love was more important than money. So why are you spending mine to soothe your heart? I made a decision. I froze the credit card. Maybe I loved her too much. Maybe I spoiled her rotten. But I know a con artist when I see one. Rick is 5 minutes after I froze the card, my phone blew up with texts from her. I ignored them. We needed to talk, but on my terms. Lily came back the next afternoon. She looked like a wreck. Dark circles under her eyes. She put on her best puppy dog face. Mom, I'm sorry about yesterday. I shouldn't have said those things. But I really love him. She sighed. My heart softened. It always does. Lily, it's not that I don't want you to date. But Rick? What happens if he gets sick? He has nothing. You'll be his nurse and his bank account. She looked down. I know, Mom. I'm sorry I disappointed you. She promised to rethink the relationship. I breathed a sigh of relief and unblocked her credit card. I wanted to believe her. A few days later, I decided to surprise her at her company dorm with some homemade chicken soup. Bad idea. I spotted them outside a supermarket near her office. I ducked behind a parked car like a spy. Lily was clinging to Rick's arm, giggling. Rick was holding bags of expensive vitamins bought with my card. You need to keep your strength up, babe, I heard Lily say. If we run out, I'll transfer more money. Mom unlocked the account. Rick stroked her hair. His smile predatory. You're such a good girl to me. Seeing them together made my skin crawl. He looked like her grandfather. But then they walked into a shop. Motherhood maternity. We don't have a cat. We don't have relatives with babies. Through the window, I saw Lily rub her flat stomach, glowing with happiness. They bought onesies. Then they walked, not to her dorm, but to a shabby apartment complex nearby. They were living together, and my daughter was pregnant. Was it his? I drove home, shaking so hard I could barely steer. The chicken soup sat in the passenger seat, mocking me. I sat in the dark all night. By sunrise, I had clarity. The next morning, I stood outside their rental apartment. The door was thin. I could hear everything. Lily, my sweet, innocent Lily, was plotting against me. She only came back to apologize because her card got declined. That was it. And the $3,800 monthly allowance I sent her? That was paying their rent. She was knocked up by a deadbeat. I cried silently in the hallway until I had no tears left. I'm a self-made woman. I clawed my way up from nothing so she wouldn't have to suffer. I sent her to piano lessons, ballet, Ivy League schools. I thought I was a good mother. I thought I was her friend. But standing in that hallway, hearing her mock me to that man, I realized I never knew her at all. Or maybe she's just rotten to the core. I remembered my life motto. Don't interfere with other people's karma. If she wants to jump into the fire with this loser, who am I to stop her? I pulled out my phone and typed a text with trembling fingers. Bring him over. Let's discuss the wedding. Lily replied instantly. I could practically hear the greed in her voice note. Saturday came. They arrived with gifts this time. Cheap fruit baskets. Probably bought with my money anyway. Mom, we're so happy you agreed. Lily chirped. I forced a smile. I've thought about it. I give you my blessing. I'll pay for half the wedding reception. Fair? Rick's eyes lit up. Totally fair, Evelyn. Whatever you say. However, I added, my voice turning icy. I'm saying this now. Since Rick isn't providing a dime for the wedding or a dowry, I will not be providing a cash gift or an inheritance advance. The room went silent. Lily exploded. No, Mom, you promised. You said when I got married, you'd help us out. How can you change your mind? Her face twisted into something ugly. His family is poor. Why are you so stingy? Rick chimed in, leaning back like he owned the place. Evelyn, come on. I give her love. You have the cash. Isn't it normal for the rich parent to support the couple? I almost laughed. I give cash. He gives love? No cash, I repeated. Lily stared at me, her eyes cold. Fine, keep your cash. But the wedding, you have to give me the deed to this house as my wedding present. She didn't blink. She wanted my mansion. Rick stood up, feigning anger. Let's go, babe. She's impossible. He slammed the door on his way out. Lily chased after him, but not before shooting me a look full of venom. Mom, you are ruining my life. Are you happy now? She stormed out. I sat on the sofa, feeling numb. Part of me, the foolish motherly part, thought about buying her a smaller condo just to keep the peace. I stood up to pace and heard a buzzing sound. It wasn't my phone. It was coming from Lily's old bedroom. I walked in. Her iPad was sitting on the desk, vibrating with notifications. She must have left it behind in her rush. Curiosity killed the cat, but the truth killed the mother. I entered her passcode, her birthday, of course, and opened WeChat. The screen unlocked with a soft chime, a sound that usually signaled connection, but now felt like the click of a coffin lid sealing shut. She was in. This wasn't just an iPad. It was a window into a life Evelyn hadn't been invited to see. The wallpaper was a picture of Lily and Rick, taken secretly, probably behind Evelyn's back. Lily was laughing, her eyes crinkling in that way they used to when she was 6 and playing with dolls. But the man next to her wasn't holding a doll. He was holding a bottle of Evelyn's expensive, smirking directly at the camera with a look of triumph that made Evelyn want to smash the screen. She opened the messaging app. WeChat. The chat history was a dagger to the heart. It wasn't filled with declarations of love or plans for a future. It was a ledger of manipulation. Group chat, Operation Goldmine. There were 3 people in the chat. Lily. Rick. And a third handle at Smooth Criminal. Evelyn's stomach churned as she scrolled. The dates went back months, long before Rick had ever surprised them at Christmas. Long before the fake vitamins. Long before the fake pregnancy talk. At Smooth Criminal, remember the rules. 1. Isolate the target from the parent. 2. Exploit the emotional void. 3. Secure the asset, property. Do not get emotionally involved. She's just the meal ticket. Rick, she's annoyingly clingy. Keeps talking about babies. Gotta play along though. The house is worth at least 2 million. Once we get the deed, we split 50-50ths. I dump her, you handle the messy breakup. Lily, I know. But Rick, you have to be nicer to me in front of her. She suspects something. And stop looking at her antiques like you want to sell them. Rick, relax, princess. The old lady is putty in my hands. She's so desperate for you to be happy, she'll buy whatever lie we sell. Just keep crying. It works every time. Evelyn sank onto Lily's bed. The mattress creaked under her weight. The room began to spin. She gripped the edge of the duvet, the silk fabric slipping through her fingers. This wasn't her daughter. Or rather, this was a version of her daughter Evelyn had never seen. The Lily in these texts wasn't the victim of a predator. She was the predator's accomplice. She scrolled further, her vision blurring. There were photos. Photos of the deed to Evelyn's mansion. Photos of the bank statements. Photos of the maternity store receipt, dated yesterday. Rick, did you get the ultrasound pics photoshopped? We need proof for the inheritance clause. Lily, working on it. Stop rushing me. Mom blocked the card again. You have to fix this. Evelyn's breath hitched. The pregnancy was a lie. The vitamins were a lie. The entire foundation of their relationship was a house of cards built on Evelyn's trust and her bank balance. She felt a wave of nausea so strong it doubled her over. She had given Lily everything. Private schools. Therapy when her father died. A trust fund that was already substantial. She had pulled her out of the squalor of a trailer park and given her a life of luxury, and this was how she repaid her? Evelyn opened the photo album. It was filled with screenshots of fake medical reports, memes about robbing the rich, and videos. One video was timestamped just 10 minutes ago. Evelyn tapped play. The video quality was poor, shaky. It was filmed from inside the hallway of the apartment complex where they were living, Evelyn's apartment complex, paid for with her allowance. Rick was standing there, his face flushed with anger, but not the righteous anger he had shown Evelyn. This was the face of a thug. A conman. That stupid bitch, Rick spat into the phone, pacing like a caged animal. She thinks she owns me? I'm doing her a favor. If it wasn't for me, her daughter would be a lonely spinster. I should have taken the 100K and run. Lily's voice came from off-screen, breathless and defensive. Rick, please. She's just scared. She'll come around. I promise. Just give me a few more days. I'll get the deed. You better, Rick growled. He turned the camera towards Lily, who flinched at the sudden attention. Look at her. She's pathetic. She actually thinks I want her. I'm just waiting for the old lady to die so I can collect. But if she doesn't sign over the house, we move to Plan B. You know what Plan B is, right, Lily? Lily nodded, her eyes wide and glassy. The accident? Rick grinned, revealing a gold tooth Evelyn had never noticed before. Exactly. We make it look like a tragic accident. Insurance pays out, we get the cash. No house, but cash is king, baby. The video ended. Evelyn dropped the iPad. It landed on the duvet with a soft thud, unharmed. The air in the room was suddenly suffocating. Evelyn gasped for breath, her hand flying to her chest. They weren't just trying to steal her house. They were planning to kill her. The wolf she had raised wasn't just hungry. It was rabid. For the first time in 20 years, Evelyn Thorne didn't feel like a mother. She didn't feel sad or betrayed. She felt something colder, sharper, and infinitely more dangerous. She felt like a CEO looking at a hostile takeover. She picked up the iPad again. Her hands were no longer trembling. They were steady. Calculating. She opened her own phone and dialed a number she hadn't used in years. David? It's Evelyn, she said, her voice devoid of emotion, smooth and cold as polished marble. I need to hire you. I have a problem. It involves fraud, conspiracy, and potentially, insurance fraud. I want every asset they have, every penny I've given them, frozen. I want the apartment lease investigated. I want that man's criminal history dug up, and I want it done by tomorrow morning. She paused, looking at the photo of her and Lily at Disney World, the one Lily had smashed on the floor, now digitally restored on her lock screen. And David? I want a team of private investigators on them 24/7. I want to know when they breathe. I want to know when they blink. She hung up. Evelyn stood up, smoothing out the wrinkles in her silk blouse. She walked to the full-length mirror. The woman staring back at her was pale, her eyes red-rimmed, but her posture was straight. Her jaw was set. Lily thought she was playing a game? Fine. Evelyn had taught Lily how to play Monopoly when she was 5. She knew exactly how the game was won. She walked over to the desk and picked up the iPad. She didn't delete the chat history. She didn't confront Lily yet. She simply opened the Notes app and started typing. Phase 1, the trap. Objective, make them think they've won. She needed to lull them into a false sense of security. If they thought she was broken, they would lower their guard. If they thought she was desperate to keep the peace, they would reveal their true hand. Evelyn saved the note. She then opened her banking app. Her finger hovered over the unblock card button. A slow, terrifying smile spread across her face. It wasn't a smile of happiness. It was the smile of a shark circling its prey. You want to play dirty, Lily? Evelyn thought, her eyes hardening like flint. You have no idea what a real nightmare looks like. She pressed the button. The money was flowing again. Let them spend. Let them celebrate. Let them buy their fake vitamins and their fake ultrasound photos. Because soon, Evelyn was going to send them straight back to the hell they came from. And this time, she wouldn't be their savior. She would be their executioner. She picked up her keys and walked out of the bedroom, leaving the iPad exactly where she found it. She walked past the broken photo frame on the floor. She would get that repaired later. She walked to the front door. She had a meeting with her lawyer in the morning. But tonight, she had a script to write. She picked up her phone and typed a message to Lily. She made sure to add a crying laughing emoji to make it look authentic. Mom, baby, I've been thinking. I was so harsh. I just want you to be happy. Let's talk about the wedding again. Maybe we can find a compromise about the house? Call me when you get this. I love you. She hit send. The bait was cast. Evelyn poured herself a glass of the same Rick had been drinking in the photo. She took a sip, savoring the bitterness. The game was officially on. The chandelier in the living room glittered like frozen champagne, casting prismatic shards of light across the marble floor. Evelyn sat on the edge of the velvet sofa, her posture perfect, her spine as rigid as a steel rod. She held a crystal glass of red wine, Rick's favorite vintage, the one he had drunkenly spilled on her Persian rug last week, but she didn't drink. She swirled it slowly, watching the viscous liquid cling to the sides of the glass. It looked like blood. The house was silent, but the silence was no longer heavy with grief. It was charged. Electric. It hummed with the energy of a storm about to break. She set the glass down, the click of crystal on glass sounding like a starting pistol. She reached for her phone. The screen was dark, reflecting her face, a mask of porcelain calm. But behind her eyes, the gears were turning, precise and merciless. She opened her email. The inbox was flooded with notifications from her financial advisors, her real estate agents, her board members. The world of Evelyn Thorne did not stop because her daughter was a traitor and her boyfriend a fraud. If anything, it sped up. She tapped on an email from David, her lawyer. The subject line read, Asset Freeze and Preliminary Findings. Evelyn. Asterisk per your instructions, the assets are frozen. The trust fund for Lily is locked. The apartment lease is under review, the superintendents have been briefed. Regarding Rick Vance, alias, I have attached his criminal history. It is extensive. Fraud, grand larceny, possession. He did 3 years in a state prison in Nevada. He is a predator, Evelyn. A professional gold digger with a penchant for older women's daughters. Asterisk. The PI team is in place. They have eyes on him 24/7. Asterisk. We are ready when you are. Evelyn didn't flinch. She didn't gasp. She had expected this. She had suspected it the moment Rick's eyes had lingered too long on the Rembrandt print in the hallway. But seeing it in black and white, seeing the cold, hard facts of his criminality, sent a fresh wave of ice through her veins. She opened the attachment. Page after page of police reports. Mugshots. Court transcripts. Rick Vance. Born in a trailer park in Detroit. Mother deceased. Father unknown. A life of petty crime escalating to grand theft auto, then to romance scams. Her finger traced the screen as she read the details of his last conviction. He had targeted a wealthy widow in Scottsdale, convincing her daughter to sign over the deed to a beach house. When the widow refused, he had accidentally left the gas stove on. Evelyn's breath caught. The accident. Lily's voice in the video, asterisk, the accident? Asterisk. Evelyn closed the file. She didn't need to read more. She knew the script. Rick was a hack actor, recycling the same tired plot in different cities. But this was her city. Her stage. She picked up her phone again and dialed David. David, she said, her voice low and steady. I want the evidence. Everything. The mugshots, the court transcripts, the audio recordings from the PI. I want it compiled. I want it printed on the finest paper money can buy. When do you want to move? David asked, his voice cautious. Not yet, Evelyn said. She stood up and walked to the window. The city lights stretched out before her, a constellation of power and money. Let them think they've won. Let Rick believe he's manipulated me. Let him believe the old bat is too desperate for a grandchild to see the truth. And Lily? Evelyn closed her eyes. The image of Lily's face, twisted with anger and betrayal, flashed before her. Her daughter. The child she had held in her arms, the child she had rocked to sleep, the child she had taught to read. She's a victim, Evelyn said, the words tasting like ash. But she's also a conspirator. She needs to see the monster for what he is. She needs to see him without the mask. She turned away from the window. Set up the meeting. Tomorrow afternoon. At the law offices. Tell Rick it's about the prenup. Tell him I've decided to be reasonable. A prenup? David sounded surprised. Yes, Evelyn said, a cold smile touching her lips. A prenup. I want it ironclad. I want it to strip him of everything. I want it to be a trap he can't resist. She hung up. She walked to her study. The room was lined with books, leather-bound and smelling of old paper and dust. It was a room of knowledge, of power. She sat behind her mahogany desk, the same desk where she had signed the papers for Lily's trust fund. She opened a drawer and pulled out a leather-bound notebook. She picked up a fountain pen, the nib sharp and precise. She began to write. Phase 2, the prenup. She outlined the plan. She would offer Rick the world, a lavish wedding, a stake in the company, access to her fortune. But it would all be contingent on him signing the prenup. The prenup would be a masterpiece of legal obfuscation, written in language so dense and convoluted that only a lawyer could decipher it. It would contain clauses that would strip him of any claim to her assets, any claim to Lily's trust fund, and any claim to the inheritance. But to Rick, it would look like a standard document. A formality. And then, when he signed it, when he thought he was secure, she would spring the trap. She wrote for hours, her hand cramping, her mind racing. She drafted emails. She drafted speeches. She drafted the script for the final act. When she was finished, she closed the notebook. She leaned back in her chair and looked at the clock. 3 a.m. The city was asleep. But Evelyn was awake. She was the watcher in the dark. She stood up and walked to the window again. The sky was beginning to lighten, a pale gray bleeding into the black. A new day was coming. She thought of Lily. She thought of the video. She thought of the words, asterisk, that stupid bitch. Asterisk. She felt a pang of something, grief, perhaps, or regret. But it was quickly buried under the avalanche of her resolve. She would save Lily. She would save her from Rick. She would save her from herself. And when it was over, when the dust had settled, Lily would hate her. Lily would scream at her, curse her, call her a monster. Evelyn straightened her spine. Let her. Better a monster than a martyr. She picked up her glass of wine and drained it. The bitterness was gone, replaced by a sharp, clean burn. The game was set. The players were in position. And the puppeteer was ready to pull the strings. She walked out of the study, leaving the notebook on the desk. She walked up the grand staircase, her footsteps echoing in the silence. She would sleep. She would rest. She would gather her strength for the battle ahead. Because tomorrow, the war began. And Evelyn Thorne never lost a war. The conference room at Thorne and Vale Corporate Law smelled of leather, sandalwood, and quiet power. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the city like a museum exhibit, skyscrapers standing at attention, the river a silver ribbon cutting through the urban fabric. At the head of the obsidian table sat Evelyn Thorne, clad in a tailored charcoal gray suit, her silver hair swept into a chignon so precise it looked sculpted. She held a fountain pen between her fingers like a conductor's baton, tapping it once, twice, against the folder labeled Prenuptial Agreement, Arvance. The air conditioner hummed. The clock on the wall ticked forward, 2:58 p.m. Rick was late. Of course he was. Late was part of the performance. Late meant he thought he held the power. At 3:07 p.m., the door swung open. Rick Vance strode in, grinning like a man who had already won. He wore a new suit, dark navy, off the rack but tailored to look expensive. His hair was gelled, his cologne overpowering. Lily trailed behind him, her eyes downcast, fingers twisting the strap of her purse. She avoided Evelyn's gaze. "Mom," she mumbled. Evelyn didn't respond. She simply smiled, a slow, cool curve of the lips that didn't reach her eyes. "Mrs. Thorne." Rick boomed, extending a hand. "Sorry we're late. You know how it is, Lily wanted to stop for a latte. Can't say no to that face, can I?" Evelyn took his hand. Her grip was firm, unyielding. "You're here now," she said. "That's what matters." She gestured for them to sit. Rick pulled out Lily's chair with a flourish, then settled into the one beside her, draping an arm over the back of her seat like a claim. David, Evelyn's lawyer, entered silently, followed by two associates. They placed binders in front of each seat. Rick's binder was thicker than the others. "Shall we begin?" David asked, adjusting his glasses. Evelyn nodded. "We've drafted the prenuptial agreement as per Mrs. Thorne's instructions," David began. "It's a comprehensive document, designed to protect both parties in the event of unforeseen circumstances." Rick chuckled. "You mean, in case I divorce your daughter and run off with the yacht fund?" A few tense laughs from the associates. Evelyn didn't blink. "Something like that," David said. "But more importantly, it ensures Lily's inheritance remains secure. And it outlines the terms under which Mr. Vance would have access to certain family assets," Evelyn interjected smoothly. "Contingent on good faith, of course. And on the continuation of the engagement." Rick leaned forward, eyes gleaming. "So, you're saying I could get a piece of the pie?" Evelyn tilted her head. "If you sign the agreement, and if you and Lily remain engaged for the next 6 months, I've agreed to release a portion of the Thorne family trust, specifically, the Pacific Heights property and a 5% stake in Thorne Biotech subsidiary. It's generous. Rick's breath hitched. Evelyn saw it, the micro-expression, the dilation of the pupils. Greedy little animal, he didn't care about Lily. He cared about the number of zeros. Lily finally looked up. Mom, you're really doing this? Evelyn met her daughter's gaze. I want you to be happy, Lily. And if Rick makes you happy, then I want to support you. On my terms. She slid the binder toward Rick. Page 37. That's where the benefits are outlined. The property deed, the stock options. All there, in black and white. Rick flipped eagerly to the page. His eyes scanned the text, lingering on the bolded figures. He didn't read the footnotes. He didn't see the clause in paragraph 12, see asterisk all benefits herein are voidable at the sole discretion of the grantor in the event of fraudulent intent, deceit, or manipulation of the beneficiary. Asterisk. He didn't see the definition of fraudulent intent in the addendum, pages 88 to 92, citing misrepresentation of identity, criminal history, or prior patterns of emotional coercion. He didn't see the trap. But Evelyn did. She watched him like a hawk watches a mouse beneath the snow. This is incredible, Rick said, grinning. I mean, I always knew you were a reasonable woman, Mrs. Thorne. I told Lily, your mom's got class. She sees the real me. Evelyn smiled. And what is the real you, Rick? He hesitated. A man who loves your daughter. A man who wants to build a life. A family. A family, Evelyn repeated, soft as silk. Yes. That's important to me. Grandchildren. Legacy. She nodded to David. Prepare the signing. The associates passed over pens, notepads, a digital recorder. Rick didn't hesitate. He signed with a flourish, asterisk asterisk or Vance asterisk asterisk, then slapped the binder shut. I can't believe this, he said, turning to Lily. Baby, we're in. We're really in. Lily forced a smile. But her hands trembled. Evelyn stood. Congratulations, Rick. I look forward to welcoming you into the family. She extended her hand again. This time, when Rick took it, Evelyn leaned in, close, intimate, almost maternal. Enjoy it while it lasts, she whispered, so softly only he could hear. Because the moment you try to take anything from me, I'll bury you in paper so thick, you'll suffocate. Rick's smile froze. Evelyn stepped back, clapped her hands once. Tea, anyone? I've had the Darjeeling flown in. The associates sprang into motion. Lily stared at her mother, her face pale. Rick laughed, too loud, too sharp. You're something else, Mrs. Thorne. A real piece of work. Oh, Rick, Evelyn said, sipping from a delicate porcelain cup. You have no idea. The clock ticked to 4:12 p.m. The trap was sprung. The prey had signed. And the puppeteer had just tightened the strings. Outside, the sky darkened. A storm was coming. And Evelyn Thorne stood at the window, watching it roll in. She whispered to no one, asterisk asterisk now we begin asterisk asterisk. The Pacific Heights property sat high on the hill, a glass and steel monument to wealth that Rick Vance now technically had access to, on paper, at least. But the keys hadn't been handed over. The security codes hadn't been shared. And the 5% stake in Thorne Biotech? Under review, David's assistant had said with a tight smile. Rick paced the marble foyer of Evelyn's guest villa, the one she'd generously offered them to stay in while settlements were processed. He kicked the base of a Grecian column, the sound echoing like a gunshot. This is bullshit, he snarled, spinning on Lily, who sat curled on the sofa, scrolling through her phone. We signed that damn prenup 2 weeks ago. Where's the money? Where's the house? You said your mom was serious. Lily didn't look up. She said it's under legal review. She's being careful. You know how she is. Careful? Rick laughed, a harsh, grating sound. She's stalling. She doesn't trust me. Lily finally looked at him. Maybe because you won't tell me anything. Like why you changed your last name. Or why you've never talked about your family. Or why, she hesitated, voice dropping, why your old landlord in Scottsdale called me yesterday. Rick froze. What, he said, too quickly. What are you talking about? Lily held up her phone. A voicemail transcript was pulled up on the screen. He said you left a storage unit unpaid for 8 months. That you told him you were between jobs. He said you owed him $3,000. And when he came to collect, you weren't there. You just vanished. That was years ago. Rick snapped. I was young. I made mistakes. Everyone does. But you told me you were a freelance consultant, Lily whispered. You said you traveled for work. You said you chose to live out of motels. I didn't lie. Rick shot back, stepping toward her. I just simplified. You think people like your mom understand struggle? They don't. They don't get what it's like to sleep in a car because the rent's due and the paycheck isn't. I survived, Lily. I adapted. Lily stared at him. And the restraining order in Nevada? The one from a woman named Diane Callahan? She said you convinced her to cash out her 401k for a startup. It turned out to be a shell company. Rick's face twisted. That's slander. She was unstable. She made up stories after I ended things. Ended things? Lily's voice cracked. You told me you were never serious with anyone before me. Rick exhaled sharply, running a hand through his hair. Lily, listen. The world isn't black and white. I've made choices. But I'm different now. I'm with you. I want this, to be real. Lily looked down at her hands. I want to believe you. You do believe me, Rick said, softening. He knelt in front of her, taking her hands. I love you. I want to marry you. I want to give you everything. But your mom, she's playing games. She's testing me. And if we're going to win this, you have to stand with me. Not question me. Lily swallowed. Nodded. Rick smiled. Good. Now, let's go see her. Let's push for the disbursement. We have the prenup. We have the engagement. We have leverage. Lily didn't answer. But she let him pull her to her feet. Evelyn was in her study, the same room where she'd drafted the prenup, the same room where she'd planned every move like a grandmaster over a chessboard. She didn't look up when the butler announced them. Lily. Rick. How predictable, she said, turning a page in a leather-bound ledger. I assume you're here about the trust disbursement. Rick stepped forward, all charm and false ease. Mrs. Thorne, we just want clarity. The prenup signed. The 6 months are ticking. We thought the first installment would have been released by now. Evelyn closed the ledger. Ah. Yes. The disbursement. She stood, walking to a walnut cabinet. She opened it, pulled out a thick file. The legal team raised a concern, she said, flipping it open. A conflict of interest. Seems Mr. Vance, Ricard Van Hales born Detroit General Hospital, 1989, has a rather extensive paper trail. Rick went still. Evelyn continued, voice calm, almost conversational. A fraud conviction in 2012. A civil judgment in 2016. A restraining order in 2018. And, oh, this is fascinating, a police report from Scottsdale PD, where a woman named Diane Callahan alleges you convinced her to transfer $270,000 into a fake investment fund. The same year you met Lily. Rick's smile didn't waver. False accusations. She was emotionally unstable. I ended the relationship. She retaliated. Evelyn tilted her head. And the name change? Filed in Clark County, Nevada, 2015. From Van Hales to Vance. Why the change, Rick? Were you running from something? I wanted a fresh start, Rick said, voice tight. Is that a crime? No, Evelyn said. But fraud is. She placed a photo on the desk. It was Rick, arm around a woman with bleached hair, standing in front of a beach house in Malibu. The caption beneath, Rick Van Hales and fiancée, Diane Callahan, engagement party, August 2015. Lily gasped. That's not me, Rick said instantly. Photoshop. Anyone can fake that. Evelyn didn't react. She placed another photo. Rick, signing documents at a law office. The header, Callahan Family Trust, asset transfer. Another. Rick, holding a check, smiling. And another. Rick, yelling at a woman in a parking lot. The police report beside it, * disturbance call. Subject, Ricard Van Hales. Complaint, harassment *. Lily stood. Rick, is this true? It's lies. Rick shouted. She's setting me up. She hates me. She's doing this to break us apart. Evelyn finally looked at him. I'm not the one who broke you apart, Rick. You did that the moment you walked into this house with a fake name and a stolen life. She turned to Lily. I gave you the prenup. I gave you the chance to see him. Not as the man he claimed to be, but as the man he is. Lily looked at Rick. Did you lie to me? Rick opened his mouth. Closed it. Then, softly, I loved you, Lily. That part was real. But the money? Evelyn asked. The house? The baby you said we could have? Was that real too? Rick didn't answer. Lily stepped back, shaking. You used me. I didn't. Rick said, reaching for her. I do love you. I needed a way out. I saw a chance, and I took it. But you changed everything. I started to care. Lily turned away. You called me a meal ticket. On the tape. I heard you. Rick's face collapsed. That wasn't. I have the audio, Evelyn said. From the night of the party. Hidden mic in the chandelier. You told Lily the baby was a golden ticket. You said I was a dying old bat who'd cave eventually. The room went silent. Rick looked at Lily. I didn't mean it like that. Lily's voice was hollow. But you said it. Evelyn stepped forward. You have two choices, Rick. You can walk out now. Sign a revocation of the prenup. Disappear. Or I can release every document, every recording, every court file to the press. I can have you indicted for fraud. I can ensure no bank, no landlord, no decent person in this city ever trusts you again. Rick stared at her. You're a monster. I'm a mother, Evelyn said. And you hurt my daughter. She paused. The door is that way. You have 10 seconds. Rick didn't move. Lily whispered, go. He looked at her. Lily. Go, **. He hesitated. Then, slowly, he turned. And walked out. The door clicked shut. Silence. Then Lily collapsed into a chair, sobbing. Evelyn didn't hug her. Didn't speak. She simply walked to the window, watching Rick's figure shrink down the drive, a small, broken man in a stolen suit. The storm had come. And the wreckage was finally clear. At last, Evelyn turned. The healing, she said, voice low, begins now. And for the first time in months, she allowed herself to cry. The sun was setting over the city, painting the sky in hues of tangerine and magenta. It was a beautiful evening, the kind that makes you believe in fairy tales and happy endings. But in the grand ballroom of the Thorne estate, the air was thick with tension, crackling like a live wire. The room was filled with the elite of the city, the old money, the new money, the politicians, the socialites. They were all there for the wedding. Or so they thought. Evelyn stood at the head of the room, dressed in a gown of midnight blue that shimmered like a starless sky. She looked like a queen. She looked like a judge. She looked like a woman who had lost everything and was about to get it all back. Beside her stood Rick, resplendent in a tuxedo that cost more than most people's cars. He was smiling, his gold tooth winking in the light. He looked like a winner. He looked like a thief. He looked like a man who thought he had pulled off the greatest heist of his life. And then there was Lily. She stood a few feet away, clutching a bouquet of white roses so tightly her knuckles were white. She looked like a child. She looked like a prisoner. She looked like a woman who was about to have her world shattered. The officiant began to speak, his voice a drone of meaningless platitudes. "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today." Evelyn didn't listen. She was watching Rick. She was watching the way his eyes darted around the room, checking the exits, checking the guests, checking to make sure his escape route was clear. He was ready to bolt the moment the papers were signed. And the papers were ready. On a table to the side of the room lay the prenuptial agreement. It was a thick document, bound in leather, looking official and imposing. It was the bait. It was the trap. Evelyn caught David's eye. Her lawyer stood near the back of the room, next to two large men in dark suits, private investigators, not security guards. David gave a barely perceptible nod. It was time. Evelyn stepped forward, her movements slow and deliberate. She raised a hand, silencing the officiant mid-sentence. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said, her voice ringing out, clear and strong. "Before we proceed with the ceremony, there is a matter of business that must be attended to." Rick's smile faltered. "Evelyn, what are you doing?" he hissed, stepping closer to her. "This is our day." "Oh, I think it's my day, Rick," Evelyn said, turning to face him. She smiled, a cold, sharp smile that didn't reach her eyes. "After all, it's my money." Rick's eyes narrowed. "What are you talking about?" "The prenup," Evelyn said, gesturing to the table. "You've been so eager to sign it. So eager to secure your future. I think it's only fitting that we do it now. In front of everyone." Rick looked at the document, then at the crowd. He could feel the eyes on him. He could feel the trap closing. "Just sign it, Rick," Lily whispered, stepping up beside him. "It's just a formality." Rick looked at Lily. He looked at the document. He looked at the exit. He walked to the table. He picked up the pen. He scrawled his signature across the bottom of the page. "There," he said, tossing the pen down. "Happy?" "Ecstatic," Evelyn said. She picked up the document. She didn't read it. She didn't need to. She handed it to David. "Now," she said, turning back to Rick. "Let's talk about the other document." Rick froze. "What other document?" "The one detailing your criminal history," Evelyn said, her voice dropping to a whisper. "The fraud in Nevada. The grand larceny in Arizona. The accidental gas leak in Scottsdale." Rick's face turned pale. "You're lying." "I have the police reports, Rick," Evelyn said. She nodded to David. David stepped forward, holding a tablet. He pressed a button. The sound system in the ballroom crackled to life. Asterisk, "That stupid bitch," Rick's voice echoed through the room. "She thinks she owns me? I'm doing her a favor. If it wasn't for me, her daughter would be a lonely spinster. I should have taken the 100K and run." Asterisk. The crowd gasped. Asterisk, "Rick, please. She's just scared. She'll come around. Just give me a few more days. I'll get the deed," Lily's voice pleaded, asterisk. Asterisk you better, Rick growled. Look at her. She's pathetic. She actually thinks I want her. I'm just waiting for the old lady to die so I can collect. But if she doesn't sign over the house, we move to Plan B. You know what Plan B is, right, Lily? Asterisk. Asterisk the accident? Asterisk. The recording cut off. The silence in the ballroom was absolute. It was the silence of a tomb. Rick looked around, his eyes wild. He tried to run, but the two men in dark suits were on him in an instant, grabbing his arms, pinning him to the ground. You're under arrest, one of them said, pulling out a badge. For fraud, conspiracy, and attempted murder. Rick screamed, thrashing against their grip. Lily! Help me! Tell them it's not true. Lily stood frozen, the bouquet of roses falling from her hands. She looked at Rick, really looked at him, for the first time. She saw the gold tooth. She saw the desperation. She saw the monster. And then she looked at her mother. Evelyn was watching her, her face a mask of sorrow and resolve. It's not true, is it? Lily whispered. Evelyn didn't answer. She didn't need to. Lily sank to her knees, the reality of it all crashing down on her. She had been used. She had been played. She had almost killed her own mother for a lie. The police led Rick away, his screams fading into the distance. The crowd began to murmur, the whispers growing louder, spreading like a virus. Evelyn walked over to Lily. She knelt down beside her. Get away from me, Lily spat, her voice trembling with shame and anger. You set me up. You used me. I saved you, Evelyn said, her voice soft but firm. I saved you from him. And I saved you from yourself. Lily looked up at her, tears streaming down her face. Why? Because I'm your mother, Evelyn said. She reached out and brushed a strand of hair from Lily's face. And no matter what you do, no matter how much you hate me, I will always love you. Lily let out a sob, a sound of pure anguish. She threw herself into her mother's arms, clinging to her as if she were a lifeline in a stormy sea. I'm sorry, she cried. I'm so sorry. Evelyn held her, rocking her gently, just as she had when Lily was a little girl. It's okay, she whispered. It's going to be okay. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of purple and gold. The nightmare was over. The healing was about to begin. 1 year later. The garden was in full bloom. Roses of every color, red, pink, yellow, white, filled the air with their sweet, heady scent. The sun was warm, the breeze gentle. Evelyn sat on a wrought iron bench, a book in her lap, a glass of iced tea beside her. She was wearing a simple sundress, her hair pulled back in a loose braid. She looked peaceful. Lily walked into the garden, carrying a tray with 2 glasses of lemonade. She was wearing jeans and a t-shirt, her hair in a ponytail. She looked healthy. She looked happy. Mom, she said, smiling as she set the tray down. How's the book? Good, Evelyn said, closing the book and setting it aside. It's a mystery. The detective is finally catching up to the killer. Lily laughed, a genuine, carefree sound. I hope she gets him. I'm sure she will, Evelyn said. Lily sat down beside her mother, handing her a glass of lemonade. Thank you, Evelyn said, taking a sip. The lemonade was tart and sweet, just the way she liked it. They sat in silence for a moment, watching the butterflies dance among the flowers. Mom, Lily said, her voice hesitant. I wanted to talk to you about something. Okay, Evelyn said, turning to look at her. I've been accepted into the graduate program at Columbia, Lily said, her eyes shining. It's a full scholarship. For psychology. Evelyn felt a lump form in her throat. Lily, that's wonderful. I want to help people, Lily said, looking down at her hands. People who have been through what I've been through. People who have been manipulated. People who have lost their way. Evelyn reached out and took Lily's hand. I think that's a beautiful goal. Lily looked up at her, tears in her eyes. I couldn't have done it without you, Mom. You saved me. You gave me a second chance. I didn't give you anything you didn't already have, Evelyn said. You found your way back. You are strong, Lily. Stronger than you know. Lily squeezed her mother's hand. I love you, Mom. I love you too, sweetheart, Evelyn said, pulling her into a hug. They sat there, mother and daughter, bathed in the golden light of the afternoon sun. The past was behind them. The future was bright. The scars were still there, hidden beneath the surface, but they were healing. And in the garden, surrounded by the beauty of new life, they found their peace.